Merkel Media.
What does the goddamn line say, Tony?
Please do language.
Then what? I'll be arrested, put in airport jail?
Look, you're going completely sideways, man.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
How dare you?
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
Day by NBC.
Jack Marius Tactheratrix. Hi, I'm Spartacus.
Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. Steven Seagal.
Sex offender guy.
I'm Keith Morris.
This is Muammar Gaddafi.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Sorting through the lies.
The hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
We cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
And
Cuba, having some food.
Let's talk about
Prison. Swangles and Fort Lauderdale.
I have sent 6 of my Libyan missiles to blow up the CS hardware department.
Nothing could be more fun than jumping off a cliff with 2 German bisexuals.
Oh, you English are so superior, aren't you?
Thank you, comrade.
And now, macroaggressions.
That's what assholes call it.
With your host,
Buddy, I don't know who you are, but you're about to get chlamydia.
Charlie Robinson.
Hey, Whitey, where's your hat?
You want to drop the blame on Charlie and say it's all Charlie's fault.
He was a retard.
I get some goddamn diuretic.
Welcome to Macroaggressions. I'm your host, Charlie Robinson. If you are watching us on Rockfin, Odyssey, Band.video, Vigilante.tv, or you're listening wherever podcasts are served, thank you so much. We appreciate the support. We know you have a lot of choices out there. You can find us at the website, theoctopusofglobalcontrol.com. You can find me on Twitter at Macroaggression. You can find me on Instagram now at Macroaggression Podcast. That's Tony Merkel manages that. So send our sponsors, Legal Shield. We've been talking about them for the last the last 6 months or so. A tremendous resource for all of us. It's access to high-powered law firms in your area for a very reasonable amount. $1 a day, $30 a month will get you access to this service. This company's been in business in the United States and in Canada for half of a century, so it's been there for a long, long time. We're happy to promote them. I think that people, listen, I mean, the wealthy people have access to attorneys. They send everything to them. It's time that we level the playing field. So if you're somebody that needs access to do you have a will? You need a will. The last thing you want to do is die and let the state get involved in your affairs. So you got to get a will. You got to get a power of attorney, for a financial power of attorney and a medical power of attorney. And you've got to get these things done right now and stick them in your safe so that you've got them. But you don't want to spend a couple $1,000. Legal Shield will allow you to do this all. You can do it in the first month if you want. You can just sign up to their program and get access to an attorney, set up an appointment with them, tell them what you need to do. You want to take care of all these things, knock it out real quick. It'll pay itself off for the next 5 years. So, otherwise, traffic tickets, red light camera tickets, those weird things, they shouldn't even exist. Send all that to your attorney. If your work wants you to sign a new employment contract that has some language in there about medical, what you agree to do medically, you agree to vaccines or something like that, you send all that to your attorney. Don't sign anything from this point forward until your attorney's had a chance to look at it. That's what they do. So I tell you what, it's not just the legal component. They've also got Identity Shield. There's a small business plan if you run a small business. Also, if you're somebody that carries a gun, they have paperwork that can help you with that. Are you getting married? You want to be on the safe side and get a prenup? They can help you with that as well. I mean, they've got everything going on there. So I'll tell you what, the best place to go to find out more information about this is the website that we built specific for this show, www.don'tgetpushedaround.com. It's the place to go. Take a look, see what you think. If it's right for you, pull the trigger. Also to EMP Shield, our newest sponsor. They have built a device that works. It's many times more efficient than a single-use EMP design. It's better than the military grade stuff. In fact, the military was asking them if they could take a look at it because they thought their product design was even better than theirs. It's fitted to a household circuit breaker with just 4 wires. It installs like a Type 2 surge protector, and it'll go on your car. It'll go on your house. If you have a motorhome or a boat, it can go on that. If you have a generator, you can attach it to the generator. They have bundle packages. You can get a couple of them all at once. So take a look. Go to empshield.com. Use the promo code MACRO on your way out to save you a little bit of money, actually quite a bit of money. And it'll protect you against things like, obviously EMPs and solar flares. God, hopefully we don't have a solar flare, but also more realistic and practical things like lightning, which is depending on where you are in the world, it could be a big deal to you. So empshield.com, you can find the installation videos there if you want to do it yourself, or you can just have an electrician come out and do it for you. empshield.com, promo code MACRO. Well, all right, we've got Christian Yordanov back on because due to popular demand, and also because he said that when he was finished with his workshop program, he was going to come on and talk to us first about it, and he has kept his word. We are the first group that's going to get access to this. So the author of Autism Wellbeing Plan, you can get that book anywhere books are sold. Also, the host of Connecting Minds podcast. He's here to explain to us how we can detoxify our life. And oh my God, we are going to need it. Back again, Christian Yordanov. Good to see you, man. How are you?
Charlie, I'm great, brother. Thank you so much for having me on. Excited to be on with you.
I am too, because I took a look at your program because you sent it over to me, and it's, boy, is it detailed. And I'll tell you what, it's not just detail. And like anybody can buy like a big, thick book, but it doesn't, but that's kind of intimidating. The way you laid this thing out is so refreshing. Frankly, it's so easy to go through. It's like you've got each section labeled. It tells you how long, if it's a video, this is how long. This 6 minutes in this video, 12 minutes in this one, 20 minutes in this one, 4 minutes on the, I just looked at it and I just went, oh, thank God. So you broke it out in a way that makes a lot of sense. There's 84 lessons to protect your long-term health. We have things that include such as reducing exposure to toxic indoor air, water, food, all of these things. Give us sort of the breakdown on this, because I'm really glad you came back. Well, first of all, I'm really glad you got it finished, because I know how much, looking at this thing, I know how much work had to have gone into it. So it's finally done and it's ready to be unfurled on the world. Thank you for giving us the first crack at it. Start from the beginning. First of all, tell us why you did this, and a little bit about your background, because we've had you on before, and you and I have talked. We talk a lot off air too. I know what your background is. I know what you have been doing to help people feel better. And boy, man, there's nothing. You'd give anything to feel better. When you feel bad, you'd trade it all in just to feel good. So why, the whole theme of this show is being proactive, not reactive. Let's take care of things in advance. Like, don't wait till the wheel falls off of your car to go get it fixed, man. If you know that it's broken, go in there early, get it done so that you don't have to gut the whole thing. And that's kind of where we are with our health. So explain to us sort of your background, where and why you put together this amazing package.
Thank you, bro. So yeah, just very briefly for folks that didn't listen to our previous episode. So I wrote a book on autism. I published it 3 years ago called Autism Wellbeing Plan, How to Get Your Child Healthy. That's a 300-page book all about all the most prevalent and serious underlying health conditions and issues that autistic children suffer from, and how parents can address them with the help of their practitioner. And so I published that book 3 years ago. And, since then, I had a kid. I've done research in other areas. So my 3 areas of greatest interest, very broad areas, are children's health and autism, preparing for a healthy pregnancy and recovering from a healthy pregnancy. And I've been into, before I was even into autism, I was into like biohacking. So I was into like longevity, healthy aging, improving mental performance. I'm such a nerd on this kind of stuff. Nootropics. This is one of the areas where I could like watch videos and read books and articles about it every day. So that's a little bit about my background. Now, back in 2019, when I was doing my practitioner course to become a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, I did a very comprehensive hormone panel for sex and adrenal hormones, and I was like, thought I was shit hot. I'm so healthy. This is going to be super optimal. I'm going to impress my mentor on the course when we review these lab tests. So I did this hormone panel, the Dutch test it's called. And it's like, basically, just to make a short story long, my testosterone was lower than that of a 60-year-old man. Let's just put it that way. Right? It was tanked, bro. It was tanked. I have an article on my website where I talk about that hormone test, and you can see my testosterone. It's like a circular sort of gauge for the reference range for your age group, and it was like we were all the way here. So we were talking about that, and my cortisol was just through the roof, and there was clearly something not right. And then I started correlating it back. I was feeling kind of crappy. I was drinking a lot of coffee. I was going to bed early. I was waking up at night. And then you start like thinking, I did have all these things. So anyway, that prompted me to do some heavy metal testing with hair and gut pathogen screening. So I had a ton of mercury and aluminum, which everybody does, and you can always detect it in some of it in the hair. And I had a couple of parasites. I had Giardia and a protozoa called Blastocystis hominis, Candida, and a couple of other things. Right. So my mentor, one of the mentors on the course said, all right, you do this, and this, but you might also want to do a couple of gallbladder flushes. So I'm like, what's this gallbladder flush thing you're talking about? I was super into it, like researching things, trying things. So I got into this, bro. So I did a few gallbladder flushes, maybe 6 or 7. After I did the first one, I got my wife on it. And dude, like my wife, I never managed to retrieve many large stones because it's not the prettiest thing. But I remember my wife retrieved a few stones that were as big as your thumbnail in diameter. We're talking the stones the size of like a penny, I guess, or maybe even bigger in diameter. So this is what comes out of you when you do a gallbladder flush. So I was completely just like my health got transformed. Like I did basically 1 per month over 6-7 months. So anyone can Google the gallbladder flush recipe. Andreas Moritz is the author of this book, The Amazing Liver and Gallbladder Flush, that it's called. And I highly encourage people that want to get started today, that don't want to invest in a course or anything like that, get the book. There's even free articles online that talk about it. But I would highly recommend people listening right now, if you've ever been under let's just say if you've ever been suboptimally healthy or have led a suboptimally healthy lifestyle, it's very, very likely you have gallstones. So what I decided to do when I was talking to you last is I wanted to do a course, like a couple of hour course, just on the gallbladder flush, and just share that with my clients. Just give it like when someone books buys a coaching package for 6 months or a year. I want to like have stuff I could give them that are my own resources, so I don't have to constantly repeat myself about everything. Yeah. And I did that, and I'm like, wait, hold on a minute. People are not even like taking B vitamins. People are not even taking zinc. You know what I mean? People like are not doing very basic things. Who's gonna want to buy something so seemingly specialized? So I did the gallbladder flush course, and I decided, well, this has to be a much bigger thing. And the gallbladder flush and the liver, it's a liver gallbladder flush. There's different ways to term it, but it's all about decongesting your liver. And we know, most of us know, the liver is one of the main organs of detoxification. So what this does is it enhances your body's ability to detoxify things that just, it's the second most complex organ in the body. So everything in the body will improve, all the system. But I'm like, yes, but people can't just do a gallbladder flush and continue to be exposed to toxins and be, eating pesticide-laden foods and breathing in toxic air and so on and so on and so on. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do it like I do things like my autism book, like researched really well, laid out really well. And here we are now. Actually, there's 84 videos now, but there will be a few more that are edited or in process of editing. So by the time this comes out, there will be another 1 or 2 hours of extra stuff. And I just decided to go whole hog with it, bro.
Yeah, it's a lot of information. I think people will I know people will get their money's worth for sure. It's whether or not they're going to actually do it. You know, if you do it, if you stick with it and you do it, I mean, you can pay for it and that's part of it. But then you have to actually do it. And that's going to be the trick. I remember the first time I got a colonic was years ago. I was in Los Angeles and went to this place that I saw some ad in like LA Weekly. And for whatever reason, I went to this place and it was this kind of sketchy building right by the Beverly Center. And this Russian lady was running it, right? Like this big, like babushka lady. And she's like, turn over, right? And like jams the hose up your ass and everything. And this is my first experience with the whole process. And I want to say this is like 99, late 90s. Yeah. Wow. Or probably late 90s. And there's like a path in which the water is, when it's released, there's a path in which the water is released down this tube. And this tube is clear. And so they want you to be able to see what's kind of coming out of you. And I remember this green marble was rolling down. And I said, what is that? And she goes, that's a gallstone. And I went, what? And she said, got to get that out of you. Got to get that out of you. And I specifically remember that. I mean, I don't remember anything else about that session except that the lady was very rough. And I saw this green marble come out. And it made me think, because of your program, I know that's one of the things, like, where you got to get the gallbladder's got to get, we got to change the oil, right? We change the oil in our car. We got to change the oil inside us, right? The gallbladder. But tell us a little bit more about the liver, because I didn't realize that it's the second most complex organ in the body, because I just thought of it as like the oil filter for your body, which it just kind of everything kind of runs through it and it strains out all the impurities.
Yeah.
And then what? I guess I don't know. I guess they just magically disappear. I don't really know how it works. So I guess you need to flush out your liver as well to get all this stuff out.
Yeah, bro, the liver is just incredibly interesting and complex if you're a nerd like me. So first of all, the thing about the liver, right, is when you eat food, okay, let's say you start chewing food and it gets into your stomach and it gets into your small intestine. Most of that is broken down and it goes into your liver. Now, the fats, most of the fats, they go through like the lymphatic system, they get packaged up into chylomicrons and all this stuff. So they kind of enter general circulation, but your protein and your carbohydrates and medium chain triglycerides, like MCT oil, that goes directly from the small intestine kind of through the porto hepatic circulation to the liver. Now the liver at that point, the first job, when there's carbs coming in, glucose, the first job the liver has to do is replenish its glycogen store. So you have let's say roughly 100 grams of glycogen. So this glycogen is the first thing it replenishes, because the job of one of the actually main jobs of the liver is to keep your blood sugar stable. So after there's the influx of that, then it can start sending glucose out to the rest of the body, to the muscles. So that's a massive job. So when you go to sleep, you stop eating maybe a couple of hours before sleep, 2-3 hours into sleep, your liver is using the glycogen. At some point, it starts gluconeogenesis. So it starts using protein to make, and other things, to make glucose to keep, again, your blood, because the brain needs glucose. So that's one job, right? But it also makes various different proteins. So all sorts of little proteins and enzymes get synthesized in the liver. So we need the liver to be functioning very well in order to be healthy. Of course, we know it's the organ, one of the main organs of detoxification. So there's enzymes in the liver that need to, when toxins come in, they activate the toxin, they transform it, they make it water soluble. And the liver creates bile. And, so the liver cells, the hepatocytes, they create the bile, and that goes down the bile ducts. And then some of that gets stored in the gallbladder. Now, for whatever reason, toxic food, toxic world, congested livers, unhealthy people. We all have these multifactorial things: drinking alcohol when you eat, coffee, high estrogen, being pregnant, being a woman is a big risk factor for gallstones. All these things create these gallstones, and they're basically like bits of bile and crap, and it almost becomes like a snowball effect. They start blocking your bile ducts, and it's like a snowball effect where they start getting bigger because the bile is trying to get through those bile ducts. There's a blockage. So what does it? The tiny stone can become a bigger stone. And some people, like you may know people. Like I was talking to a friend that she had her gallbladder removed a while ago. My granny had her 300,000 people in the US get their gallbladder removed every year. 300,000, and it's usually because of a gallstone attack where a gallstone just kind of is pushed out from the liver and it gets stuck into one of these ducts. And the gallbladder flush, what that does is it basically safely allows you to soften them and push them out. But it's kind of we can go down a big rabbit hole here, but what the benefit is here is if you have these stones congesting your liver, and let's say some of them are in your gallbladder, and the capacity of the gallbladder decreases, you make like a quart of bile every day. Like the average human will make a quart of bile. So you need that to digest your food, and it also has antimicrobial properties. So like a lot of people are having problems with, they can't tolerate fats, they can't digest their food well, intestinal dysbiosis. Well, could this be one of the factors? And so you're getting an influx of food. The liver wants to push all this bile to digest the food, but the flow is impeded. The liver function is congested, and you're not able to do that, right? And over time, more and more dysfunction occurs. So you soften the stones with the protocol, you dilate the bile ducts with the Epsom salts on the last day, you take that drink of fat, which is usually organic olive oil, and now suddenly this influx of fat tells the liver and the gallbladder, let's dump everything. We got a big amount of fat here. Let's dump everything out, and boom, that goes into the small intestine and down out of you. Now, I just want to add something that I kind of found out when I was doing the research for the course. Your bile, this is a very interesting substance. I know it doesn't sound very exciting when you start talking about bile. It's like, this guy is, right, what a gig. But here's the thing. A lot of toxins, including, let's say, mercury, when they're in the liver, let's say you have, I'll give you an example. I've got 4 amalgams that I've had for like almost 3 decades. And it turns out, again, from the research I've done, is every time you chew, you are swallowing up to 9 micrograms of mercury every day if you have 1 to 4 amalgams. So I've scheduled a biological dentist from 2 months from now to remove them. It's the only one in Portugal, so a big wait list. Now that mercury gets into you, down your tract and into your small intestine, it very readily gets absorbed into the bloodstream, gets into the liver. Okay, you have your phase 1 detoxification, your phase 2 detoxification. What happens? It's transformed. It's then conjugated with glutathione, the master antioxidant, and now it's become more water soluble. And now it actually gets pushed into the bile, and the bile, when it's pushed into the small intestine, the intention of the body is the bile will go down and out of you. However, the body, in its infinite wisdom, recycles nutrients, recycles a lot of things. So up to 95% of your bile gets reabsorbed kind of near the end of the small intestine before it gets into the large intestine. So from the research I read, more than 70% of certain types of mercury get reabsorbed. So that's why the half-life of mercury in the body is so long, is because it goes down, bile gets reabsorbed, and it gets reabsorbed through enterohepatic circulation, as it's known. So you're like, it's like this freaking merry-go-round of this toxin, and not just other things as well, but mercury is one example. So when you do the gallbladder flush, you're purging a lot more of this bile at one go, and your body is now resynthesizing new bio. So you're starting afresh. So it's like, you take your car for service. These filters have been so overused and so dirty. They just, instead of cleaning the filters, they just throw them out and replace new ones. So it's that kind of analogy I'd like to use for the flush.
Perfect. Yeah. So in especially here in America, we all have mercury fillings in our teeth. I mean, what a dumb idea that was. But I guess if you want to keep, yeah.
How many?
3, I think. Yeah.
Damn, bro.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I'm poisoning myself daily. Not even,
Damn.
I mean, we know about fluoride and we know that that's toxic. We say, oh, we got to stay away from that. But we've got these other things going on too. So if you're like me and you had these fillings in your teeth, you're absorbing that every day, and this will help to sort of flush it all out, like you said, and then it won't have to recirculate used bile like used motor oil. You can just flush the whole system out and bring in new stuff and get it going. So about this flush, when you're on this program, if someone signs up for your program, and I know there's a lot of information, and so we'll give some of it away. You give some of it away now for talk about as much as you can. Other components of it, you're going to really need you're really going to need the program to follow step by step the instructions. But how long of a process is this? What sort of time commitment are we talking about for getting yourself? You sort of got to get educated on it first, and then you start the process and follow the instructions. And what are we looking at here?
Well, bro, I gotta tell you, with this sort of thing, there is no finish line, right? This is what I try to educate people about. It's like, let's use the analogy of the car, because everybody will kind of relate. Like your car, you have to fill it up with gas. Yeah. You have to replace your windshield wiper fluid. You have to hoover the inside, take it in for the yearly service. There's a million things you have to do for your car. And I have friends, and I'm sure you have friends, that take better freaking care of their car than their body, dude. It's unbelievable. But there is no finish line. But here's my advice. And by the way, I love giving as much information as we can pack into 1 hour, because there's so much information, and it's not like I own this information. I live to share this information. So I will give away the best info I can give here. But it's like anything, to get good at it, you want to do it, you want to learn it well. So my personal advice is, I had one friend I shared the course with, kind of the preliminary version, because he was complaining about various health issues. I'm like, bro, you are a perfect candidate for the gallbladder flush, baby. Here, check this out. And he brought some lab work. I looked at some of his blood work. I'm like, yes. Listen, just watch my course. So the next day he texts me. He's like, oh man, this course is so amazing. It's so much information. I'm gonna try to devote 2 hours here and there and sit down and watch it. I'm like, no. You're already setting up yourself for massive failure. Just look, you like podcasts. I love podcasts. Everybody listening here very likely loves podcasts. Just play it like a podcast. Yes, there's video presentations with slides, but if you just allow me to talk in your ear when you're driving the car, when you're walking the dog. Even this morning, I was walking, because there's so much information even for me. I was like, wait, if Charlie asked me something about this topic, I'm just kind of doing mental exercise. Will I even be able to remember what I wrote on those slides? So I'm there walking my dog, listening to these things, re-listening to some videos, and occasionally I'm like, wait, let me just check the slide, rewind 15 seconds, and just you see it visually. So then you imprint it, and you can sit down, watch it, and then get up, listen to it, doing chores. So listen to it like a podcast. If you can't just sit down, if you're a YouTube person, then yes, watch the videos. You'll get double the learning experience. But I just have to explain the 3 pillars of what I talk about in the course. So the number one, the most important thing, it's like if you have a leak in the house, what's the first thing you have to do? You don't get the mop and start mopping the floor. No. You find is it a faucet? Is it the outside water? You shut off the source of the leak. So a large part of the course is devoted to teaching people how to, first of all, the dangers of toxins. Because if I just tell you, do this, this, and this, and I don't give you a reason why, are people going to do it? So I tell you some theoretical stuff, the dangers, the mechanisms, the conditions, the symptoms associated with toxins. And then I tell you the practical aspects, how to clean up your indoor air quality, how to ameliorate outdoor air pollution effects, right? So how to keep it out of your house and ensure that your home environment is as pristine as possible. In fact, I think this is one of the more important parts, because yes, you a lot of people listening to this know about water, know about organic food, and many people know about personal care products. But a lot of us are unwittingly getting a lot of toxic exposure just from our indoor air. So, but anyway, there's a lot of stuff for just just beginners, for food, organic food, and processed foods. And like, if you go to a restaurant, how to like navigate the menus there. If you're ordering takeout, what's cleaner options? That's another one. Stuff that this is basically the course, bro, I wish I had at any point of my life. But 5 years ago, when I was getting into this stuff really heavily, the research of it, if I had this information then, I would have saved so much time, energy, and research. But so reducing the toxic exposure is critical. It's like you can't out train a crappy diet. You can't out detox and out supplement a ton of toxic exposure. So that's step one. Step two, which I think a lot of folks that are already doing the stuff that we mentioned, folks will really get a lot of benefit from. There's a couple of modules that relate to what kind of a diet will support your body's innate detoxification system long term. So talk about the macronutrients, basically we talk about how to support glutathione and antioxidant production with diet, the vitamins, the minerals that are cofactors or used in detoxification, why you need to support your energy systems. So that there is like really useful for people just to follow long term. And again, that's why there is no finish line, because you will continue to have to keep detoxifying the exposures you have, and then it's inevitable you will gain some exposure as you go, because you drive in traffic, if you live in a big city, this is a huge thing that you just have to continue to do these baseline activities to support your detoxification system. And finally, you need to also know how to remove existing body burden. So there's 2 hours on the gallbladder flush. I talk about things like coffee enemas. I'm about to do a set of videos on improving gut function, because if you can improve your gut function, your gut barrier, if it's not permeable or leaky, then a lot less toxins will come in to begin with. So that's actually a very important thing, the gut. I was going to do a separate gut course, and I may eventually, but I feel like putting in an hour or so of lectures, or even half an hour of the core concepts, I think people will get a lot of value out of. So things like sauna, and then we talk about like the supplement side of things. We talk about binders. So charcoal is one we can discuss in more detail if you want, but some really good binders to kind of mop up toxins. Also, there's some other little tidbits I've thrown in. There's a module on the lab. If you want to do some lab testing, what lab tests you can use to test for toxic exposure. So chemical toxicity, heavy metals testing. There's urine, blood, feces, red blood cell, whole blood. So there's a hair testing. So I explain the reasons behind each type of test, when you would use it, how to test your water and your cell for glyphosate, markers for DNA damage, oxidative stress, markers for antioxidant status. It gets really awesome, if you stick with the course and don't get disheartened. And also I have another module. This is actually, I'm really happy about this. This is again something I wish I had 5 years ago at least. I have gone over, because I do genetic tests with my clients, right? So I've done plenty of research on the genetics around detoxification, methylation, oxidative stress, and inflammation. So when you run a genetic panel with a practitioner, let's say you run 30 genes related to these 4 areas, everybody invariably has some quote unquote polymorphisms or variations that will make some of these genes that code the enzyme less efficient. So they create bottlenecks in the metabolism. So if you know what your specific genes are, your polymorphisms that create risks or vulnerabilities, you can do diet, lifestyle, and supplementational strategies to ameliorate those risks, reduce them. So what I've done is I give you an overview of again, the 4 areas of metabolism are methylation, oxidative stress, inflammation, and detoxification. And I say in the module, it's like, let's pretend we just ran a genetic panel on you, and we, out of these, let's say 30 genes or whatever it is, 20 genes, we discovered a couple here, a couple there, that you have a few vulnerabilities, SNPs, as they're called, single nucleotide polymorphisms. Then I tell you, here's what I would recommend to you if you're my client in terms of, again, lifestyle stuff, how to reduce inflammation, foods and supplements and lifestyle things that reduce inflammation, reduce oxidative stress, make the enzymes that ameliorate oxidative stress work better. Again, nutrients, lifestyle, and things that reduce inflammation. I think I mentioned that. And things that speed up your phase 2 detoxification system and your methylation system, which is also used in detoxification, and a number of other things like neurotransmitter metabolism, hormone. So if you just follow the stuff in that module alone, I think people will be like, okay, I feel better after 3 months, but okay, I feel better. you know?
Well, you're going to know what you're working with. So much of this, it's like if you, again, back to the car thing, you take your car into the mechanic, that depending on the type of car, they can plug in something that will give them a diagnostics. They can say, okay, I see what the car is telling me, that this is broken. This is acting fine. This is what's doing. When you run these tests, now you know kind of what you're working with. You say, well, I'm good here. I'm deficient here. And with that in mind, then you will better know how to attack the problems. You'll know what you're up against. So I think that's important for us. But you know, here, especially here in America, man, you go into the doctor and you ask them, hey, tell me what's wrong with me. They have no idea. They don't know what's wrong with you. It could be anything. It's probably multiple things. So to have these tests, to be able to do this, like this DNA health panel, to have it sort of say like this is what the science is telling us about you. You may find out that there are things that you always suspected were wrong, or a bunch of things that you have never even heard of that could be wrong. So I like this, to just sort of get these, to sort of do the genetic test, to measure the toxins, and to understand, maybe right off the bat, you need to do that, to have a baseline of where you are when you start this thing. And then maybe you do this test, after you've gone through the program, or maybe, like I said, there is no finish line. So maybe you test yourself every couple years and see where you measure up over the course of time. I think that this would be, you give I think this whole course is a great resource for people. They're going to get information that they didn't, that they just can't really get from a lot of places, or the information they can't really trust. Like, as an example, this seems pretty, this seems like pretty, easy information to maybe find if you know what you're looking for. But as an example, I found it really helpful that you had a list of the personal care products and like sunscreens and supplements that worked. Like, these are the ones that you want. These are the ones that don't have the things that you're not supposed to use. Like here in America, it's summer. Obviously, it's getting to be that time of year, and everyone wants to go out and they want to get out in the sun. And we're told, oh, you got to have the sunscreen on. But you don't know what the hell you're putting on your body. And so for you to have this list of all the things, this is a resource that's it's going to be helpful for a lot of people. It's going to be helpful for parents, moms, with kids that want to know, like, oh shit, I've been putting like copper tone all over my kids. Should I not be doing that? It's like, no, you shouldn't be doing it. Yeah. And because here's why, and here's a list of the things. So really great, really great information. Also, you gave information on EMF protection too. What's some good things that we can incorporate into our I don't know, like our sort of daily lives that can help us with EMF. I've had people on recently. I had Nicholas Pinot on from Montreal talking about it, that he's sort of like the EMF guy. We were talking about the dangers of this. There's this tendency to go, oh, it's invisible, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect me. Well, tell that to the guys that work with nuclear radiation.
Yeah, bro. Like, actually, I have Nick. I saw that you just published an episode with him there.
Yeah.
I have his book, the non-tinfoil hat guide to EMFs, and I also have Dr. Mercola's book EMF'd. And actually, I credit those two guys, and I recommend their books in the course. And that's actually what I used for the basic recommendations. Again, this is I cast a wide net, air, food, water, everything. But EMFs is an important thing. And bro, just as a quick aside, a few days ago we were at a birthday party for one of my daughter's little friends, and I was talking to one of the moms there, and her we're talking about it, how you talk about your kids and the dress they're wearing, blah blah. And she said that her daughter is 5. And when she said, my jaw drops, like that kid, like I'm thinking that kid is 5. She looked like she was as tall as the 3-year-olds party who were at. They were standing next to each other. She looked that size. So, she started saying that she's not growing. She gained 2 kilograms when they were on holiday in Asia. She gained 2 kilograms in 2 months, and then they came back and she lost 1 kilogram. So anyway, I was moving around, and next thing, the dad comes to me. He's never met me, doesn't know who I am. He just starts telling me about his health problems. I'm like, what is this, like the kind of energy now I have, that people just come to me? We haven't even exchanged names. He just started telling me about his brain fog. He can't work. He works with tech stuff, and he can't like produce this AI product he's building. So the first thing I kind of asked him was like, do you use Wi-Fi a lot? Are you near your router? And he was like, oh. And then he started telling me that basically they're living in that house 7 years, and there's a cellular antenna there very close. And about 3 years ago, they upgraded that to 5G. And then I started like dun making all these connections. So his kid's not growing. Apparently she's had some gut stuff. He has gut stuff. He has brain fog. His wife had like some various surgeries. She went to like, literally, that's what she said, the 10 of the best doctors related to the health problems she had. So I'm like, oh Jesus. And he's like, when I go to the mountains, when I go to do my fishing at the ocean, I feel better, but when I'm at the house, I feel horrible. So I'm like, bro, like you've already figured out what your problem is here. It's the freaking thing. And he's like, yes, I have to get out of there. I have to get my family out of there. I have to find a temporary house. So like, this was the first very shocking first-hand account I've seen of someone that had serious issues with this stuff. So it's a very serious issue. And the way I kind of frame it to people that are incredulous is, if you're healthy, like I'm pretty healthy. I know I have 3 different types of metal in my mouth. I have the mercury amalgams. I've got a bridge that's chromium, cobalt. I've got freaking 2 titanium implants recently. And my homeopath told me when you have 2 metals, there's an ion exchange. So it becomes like a battery. So the harder metal starts to melt the softer metal. So it's like, I'm detecting a shitload of mercury in your body. So we all are under stress of some kind from toxins, right? Including myself. I'm not perfect. I'm doing my best. But when it comes to EMFs, if you're healthy, you might not feel it. But if you start having health issues, it could be one of those things that could push you over the edge. It could be one of those things that is like becomes the straw that breaks the camel's back. And we all have to do very, very simple little things to reduce our exposure to EMF. So at the very least, again, a lot of the stuff is from Mercola, from Nick, but like keeping your phone, if your phone is not on airplane mode, keep it at least an arm's length away, at least, of course, more if possible. I hear where I'm here at my office, I've got, you can see this Ethernet cable. I've got my Wi-Fi is off at the router. I've got a 60-foot cable coming up here to my office upstairs. And I have like a switch. So I have a bunch of these Ethernet cables. One is into my laptop. I have this here. It's a Ethernet to USB-C. So for my Android devices, I have a couple of Ethernet to Lightning for. I have a couple of Apple devices for other projects, and I have. This is your baseline, right? Keep your Wi-Fi off, keep your phone on airplane mode if it's on your person, and keep it far away from you if you're expecting a call. Never hold your phone to your head if you're talking on it. Always use hands-free or speakerphone. And so these would be the most important things. And I also have a number of like EMF blankets, EMF scarves. I have a couple of, it's a tinfoil hat, but it looks like a cap, like a baseball cap. I have like a beanie it's got, there's, if folks are interested in actual products on Amazon, I'm sure it's available still. Mission Darkness is the company. So Mission Darkness, they do a ton of like, they do Faraday bags. So I have like 2-3 different types of Faraday bags for my phones. So my normal phone is not Android, it's not Apple, it's Graphene OS. So it's completely de-Googled. So my normal phone is not spying on me. It's awesome. I highly recommend people check out Graphene OS. Get off Android, guys. Get off freaking iOS. There are solutions. So anyway, let's not make this about that.
I'm writing all these notes down as you say this, though.
Yeah. So
Mission Darkness, Graphene OS.
Let me just show you. I have the Mission Darkness. I have this Faraday bag. It's a pouch, so you can put your credit cards in. And it's like a wallet. I have this one. It's like a thin one. It's for just a phone, and you just whatever. And then I have this one. It's like a molly, so you can put it like on your backpack and whatever else. And then I have one for a tablet. That's where my iPad lives most of the time. Yeah. And I have a throw blanket, like this big throw blanket, like a big blanket. I've got 2 of those, and basically all of these products, they have an inner layer of I think it's copper and nickel, and then I have a couple of small blue little baby blankets. So when my kid was born, I draped these across her cot. If we're going somewhere, I'd have it. I actually have it in my armchair downstairs. If I'm like in the chair relaxing, I have the blanket on me if I need to like be watching like some course about what health related stuff. So there's always ways to protect yourself a little bit. I also have it's a European company. I'm not sure if I forgot. It's called Le Bloc. They do scarves. They do clothes and scarves. So I have a cap from those guys. And they use silver fiber and these very delicate, nice, thin shawl scarves that actually I've tested it. I have an EMF meter here, by the way, as well. Boom, got me an EMF meter. So I've tested them and they really freaking work. So I have these things, but it's like let's just say it's like a second line of defense. Your first line of defense is a reduction of EMFs to begin with. These are protective things if you're going to the big city, if you're going to be in an office space, or people like if you live in an apartment block where there's a lot of signals around you. I certainly would be like thinking of this. They have these Faraday sort of curtains that you can get around your bed or your kid's bed. So I'd be thinking about things like that. And one little aside, you see here, this is on my arm. This is connected to the outlet. So this is like a grounding cable or an earthing wire. And I have this in a couple of locations. I can't quantify the effects of it, but being earth grounded, it has to do with like the negative charge pulling some oxidative particles, electrons, which that's what oxidants are. They're electrons or molecules that are looking to pair with something, and they rip something out of a tissue or cell. So that's what an oxidant is, and an antioxidant gives it the electron to ameliorate that effect, right? So this kind of is another antioxidant, like grounding on the beach or on wet grass. So I do these things, but again, guys, you have to turn off that freaking Wi-Fi router. I've measured everything. My EMF meter can measure 3 types of fields. So EMFs, electric fields. So like near my fridge, where we sleep, where we lay our heads at night, where we lay our heads down, I've measured all the fields, and I've positioned the bed and my dog's bed in the living room far enough so it's out of the way of fields. So it's not just EMFs. But what I'd say, the heaviest signal I detected was from the Wi-Fi router. Okay, just keep that in mind. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Don't forget about your pets. Yeah, like you said, move your dog's bed.
Oh, yes. And you know what, Charlie? When my dog, they scratch and they move, so she moves her bed. So it's like let's say about a yard away from the freezer. So she will move it sometimes, like a foot closer to it. So I'll go. Sometimes I'll get her up and I'll push it, a foot back. It's like, Bobby, you gotta get out of the electric frequencies range here. It's for your own good. Trust me.
That's funny. Yeah, man. Listen, these are invisible enemies. And it's tempting to just pretend like they're not there because they're invisible, but boy, they make a big difference. Like you said, it's hard. It's really hard to quantify some of this stuff. You have an EMF meter, so you can sort of measure and look at that. But for people like you're out in the city, you're out driving around, you're out just doing day-to-day stuff, we're getting bombarded. You don't really want to wear a tinfoil hat. I have had Matt Landman on before. He makes Spiro clothing. He makes tinfoil hats, like the type like you're talking about. It's important for us to sort of think about that stuff. There's two things that you had in this program that I was hoping maybe you could go into detail on. One is immunotoxicity and one of them is neurotoxicity. Basically, like, what are they? We've endocrine disruptors, heavy metal, this sort of stuff. What's the difference? What do we need to know about immunotoxicity and neurotoxicity?
That's actually a very good question, because people really have to understand these are the two. How do I say it? These are the two sort of most obvious things that are rearing their ugly head visibly in the world. So think about autism, right? It's a neurodevelopmental condition. Think about cognitive decline, brain fog, Alzheimer's, all those dementia, all those neurodegenerative conditions. If you look at kind of how they go up the graphs, and if you look at how toxicity goes up, you don't have to be an epidemiologist, statistician, genius to start saying, well, it might not be the whole puzzle, but it's a big piece of the puzzle. So toxins, in fact, for a lot of people, the first manifestation of toxicity is immunotoxicity. Now, in terms of kids, because I've delved into kid research quite a bit, allergies and asthma are a big issue, right? But in terms of adults, how do we know if someone has immunotoxicity? Well, here's one way. If you get sick a lot, if you get recurrent infections, it's not because of some new variant of this, that, or the other, or that this really pisses me off when people start saying, I'll get sick a lot because my kids are going to school and the other kids are sick, and then my kid gets sick and they come back and they're making me sick. And like, listen, can we stop it with the mental gymnastics? Like, I tell this to my family members. You're not getting sick because you can stop fobbing it off on your kids. You are getting sick because you are not as healthy as you think you are. You are not optimally healthy. I know you eat organic. I know you don't buy plastic crap. I know you try to live conscientiously, and I commend you for it. But that doesn't mean you don't drive a car. It doesn't mean you're not accumulating toxins. It doesn't mean you always ate organic. You have been accumulating toxins since you were in your mother's womb. So you are getting sick often because of some immunotoxic effects of toxins. Now, one big one, unfortunately, is diesel exhaust particles. This is one of the most, let's say, deleterious parts of pollution. And as much as I hate, and we all, I think, listening here, as much as we hate the intention behind this push for electric vehicles, I'm like, yeah, I don't like what it's about and the implications there, but I also don't like the fact that burning fuels, especially if you live in a big city, this is like, if you look at the research, like kids that live in close proximity to highways, and folks that live in big cities, like they have a much higher incidence of various conditions. For example, there was one study, it was done in the 90s in Phoenix, Arizona, and on a number of different things, like basically mortality increased by 15% related to like cardiovascular deaths, and there was 2 or 3 other types of deaths. So people living in Phoenix had a higher chance of 15% higher chance of dying of 2 or 3 different types of deaths, including cardiovascular, than folks living in a smaller city. That's just from living in a big city. And diesel, exhaust particles, and particulate matter is a big piece of that puzzle. So this again goes back to what we were talking about earlier. There is no finish line. Well, if you move into maybe like up high in Everest mountain or Kilimanjaro, maybe, and you detox yourself and you eat well and live well after that, maybe. But I doubt that most people are going to be able to do that. So recurrent chronic infections. And here's the other one. Autoimmunity, that's another symptom of immunotoxicity. So people with autoimmune type stuff, not necessarily an overt diagnosed disease like, systemic lupus erythematosus or, some crazy stuff like that, horrendous, debilitating disease, but like just like skin stuff and unexplained symptoms. A lot of there is autoimmune components to that. And another big one is, it's a very recent phenomenon, is chemical sensitivity. So these are the sort of the big immunotoxic effects of toxins. And the way it works is excuse me, is basically some of these toxins, they have some of the mechanisms, they just suppress certain immune cells. They'll damage certain immune cells. They just have an affinity towards certain cells, so they start to get the immune system out of balance. So you can have certain you have your inflammatory, pro-inflammatory, anti-inflammatory molecules, so the balance can be twisted in one direction or the other, tilted in one direction or the other, and that can start over time causing other things. For example, just recently I was looking at one paper. Basically, the kids that were exposed to, I think it was air pollution, they had a higher, so at 1 year of age, they had a higher chance of developing not just allergies to pollen and airborne particles, but also to food particles. So this is how have your one toxin disrupting your immune system. So now you can become sensitized to food, to bacterial things. So it gets nasty. And on the other hand, neurotoxicity, well, think about it this way, right? It's a little bit of a myth that we're born with all of our brain cells. We still have neurogenesis, and we have certain amount of new neural growth. But for the most part, it's true that most of our neurons, are there, and once a neuron dies, it does not get replaced. And a lot of these toxins, they're what is known as lipophilic, so they're fat loving, or they have an affinity for fatty tissue. And the brain and the nervous system, there's a ton of like fatty tissue there. You have DHA for cell membranes, you have lipids, and you have cholesterols and saturated fats, and so on and so forth. So myelin, that protective sheath on nerves, that's fatty tissue. So these toxins tend to bioaccumulate in fatty tissue. Not just people think, oh well, it's in my fat, so it's sequestered away. Yeah, not necessarily. If it's in your circulation, the toxin, which you breathe it in your lungs, it gets into your lungs, and then it enters general circulation. Then it can get into the brain. Some of these toxins readily cross the blood-brain barrier, including mercury, for example, and a ton of these persistent organic pollutants. Polybrominated diphenyl ethers like flame retardants and crap like that. Yeah. So this is where we get so you get neural damage. So one neuron gets damaged. If one neuron dies, it can kill others around. It can when a cell dies, it creates it just creates oxidative damage around. It's like if you demolish a house messily, unplanned, it's gonna like damage the houses next to it, right? So over time, you have clusters of neurons die, and that, if you have a few cells here die and tissues get damaged, and over time it can affect nervous system function, and so people can develop neurological type issues. And the thing about things like neuroinflammation and stuff like that, it's like a wildfire, bro. You light the spark. It's easy to light the spark, and once the wildfire is going, it's very difficult to extinguish. And that's not just for older folks, but also in, like, I've seen it from the research in autism as well. There's a lot of neuroinflammation in those in at least in autism.
Well, in America, they want to get you on as many pharmaceutical drugs as possible. They, I've got this is my symptom, and you go in, they say, well, take this pill, and then you develop something new, and it's, well, then take this other pill to counter effect the acts of this pill. Nobody is coming to save you. You are going to have to do this on your own. If you are somebody that values your health, and hopefully you are, and you are somebody that is proactive, you're going to need to go out and actively find the information, read it, listen to it, watch it, however you can do it, incorporate this into your life, and you're going to have to make that decision. So this is kind of where we are. This is the reason why I wanted to have you back on, because the program's now ready to go. You've built it. It's all. If it wasn't laid out so well, I might be inclined to say there's too much information. But because of the way you did it, the way you put it in there, it's organized, and it's organized well. So even if it is too much information, it doesn't feel like it. But I've gone through and taken a look at the whole program. If you're somebody that has a health issue, you have to at the very least, take a look at this and see what you think. We've put a link in the show notes for this. It'll go out for the audio podcast, also for the video podcast, wherever you're listening or watching. There will be a link down at the bottom that will be specific to this show, that will get you access to Christian's program, and it will get you a discount on Christian's program. But also, there's another thing that we wanted to offer. We wanted to do Christian wanted to do it because we first really kind of talked about this, and I sort of, I don't know, I kind of said, when you're ready to launch it, I'd love for you to come back on here first. You did that. I appreciate it. So for our listeners, and for the first 100 of them that sign up, you're going to offer in addition to the program that they get, you're going to give them a 45-minute consultation with you, which is worth, I don't know, quite a bit. And then out of all those 100 people that sign up, you're going to pull one name out of that and give them what is known as a DNA health panel, right? From a company called DNA Life, that will screen 60 genes, and then they'll get an hour consultation with you to go over the results of that. That's a $450 value. This is for the person who is the one lucky winner that's going to get the free DNA panel. But the first 100 people are going to get access to you. I think it's helpful. I think maybe people are going to, maybe you like the option of having their hand held a little bit and to be able to talk to you for 45 minutes. And so fill us in on the details of that. Let's wrap up with you talking about what a 45-minute consultation with you gets. And by the way, thank you again for, I just kind of said it in passing, like, I'd love for you to come back on when you're ready. And you reached out and said, it's ready. Let's do it first here. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. I know that the listeners will appreciate it. We like free stuff. We like access to stuff first too, so talk about a little bit about a 45-minute consultation with you.
Well, first of all, thank you as well, Charlie, because first of all, I love you. You're such an
I love you too, brother, man. You're great. You and I got along right off the bat,
yes,
man. You
absolutely, bro.
You remind me of a very important person in my life. And and because of that, right off the bat, you and I have connected. So
that's awesome, bro. Maybe you can tell me about that after. I'd love to hear that. I would also love to know your birth date. I want to I love looking at my horoscope, another. But anyway, we'll talk about that.
I did that one time. I did that with an astral reading, a natal chart, and an astral reading, and in that, and I did that in 2009, and in that it said the lady said, I don't know how else to tell you this, but it says you'll be a writer, and I was working in real estate at the time, and I was like, okay, and I have written down. I have a scan of it.
Wow, bro, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So again, thank you for the opportunity to share this, and I love the fact that I'm able to share this important information with your audience, because I believe that these people that listen to you, that you attract, that are kind of on your frequency, I believe these are awesome people, because I love your work, and anyone that is coming to your podcast, it means that we have a lot in common. So
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, glad that I can, be a part of this community and kind of share some of my research. And so, yeah, basically this DNA, just look, and knowing the topics of discussion and macroaggressions, this is the DNA panel. And I just want to allay any concerns immediately. So this isn't giving your data to Google. First of all, for plenty of my clients, we just use a fake name, so you don't have to put your real name. Second of all, this company, they only test the genes that the panel includes. They only keep the sample for 3 months after they destroy it, and they don't do any type of other research like these other companies. That, by the way, I gave my DNA to 23andMe with my wife back in like 2018. She really wanted to get the ancestry stuff. I wanted to get the health stuff.
Yeah.
I regret it now. And look, if one day you see like a slave on Mars building some stuff, no, that. And I'm on Mars there, like lone and slaving away, right? Or Uranus. I'm sure I'm sure that's just as plausible, right? Of a scenario. So yeah, so the DNA panel, it covers those 4 things, like those 4 areas I covered earlier. So you will actually know what your methylation, detoxification, oxidative stress, and another salt sensitivity, alcohol metabolism. There's a gene there. It's interesting to know for some folks. Lipid metabolism. So there's a number of things that these are the genes that have the most research. Most research has been done on these. So there's been associations with atherosclerosis, strokes, cancer. Knowing your genes is knowing your risk profile, and then not only is there recommendations in the report, but I will actually personalize some protocols that I can share with you. We can go over it over an hour-long session, and then you'll be able to get actionable, nutritional, dietary, and lifestyle things that you can do based on the report. So yeah, so that's that kind of. I want to do that for, and I'm only, by the way, this I'm only doing for your listeners, Charlie. So don't expect this another podcast, guys. And the other thing is also, I'm only doing the first 100 listeners, basically the first 100 people that sign up to the course. I'll monitor very closely everyone that uses your link or your code macro, and the first 100 folks, you get an email. There'll be some time limits related to when you can book the session, but you have like 3 months to book a session with me for 45 minutes. And clearly it's not going to be like an advisory type thing. I'm not going to be telling you what to do about your, that growth on your butt or some crazy stuff like that. I'm not going to be giving you that kind of advice, but it will most certainly hear you out, hear where you're at, if you're struggling with anything. And then what I'll be able to do is just educate you on a few things, some areas of the metabolism you may want to focus on, and what particular sort of path you may want to take through the course. Basically, because there's so much information, and I've laid it out so anyone that like a complete beginner that wants to learn, they can just go through the entire course linearly, and it will be a perfect progression. But folks that already know stuff or want to focus on a specific issue, you get a little bit of guidance, and I think that will be very educational. I think in 45 minutes is actually quite awesome. Like I in about 20 minutes I can really understand. I'm that sort of efficient now. I can quickly understand what area a person needs to work on, and then in the rest of the time we can explain some bits and pieces. And I feel like there's a lot of value there. And it will also be fun to kind of see where people are at, and it will help me. It will help, like I said earlier, it will help me make the course better, because this is obviously going to be a living workshop. There'll be things added as I see a need for them. So, it's an investment, the way I see it, getting this.
You've got to invest in your health. It's the most important thing to you. When you feel shitty, you just would give anything to not feel that way anymore. So be proactive, be aggressive in taking care of your health. If you're sitting around waiting for your doctor who went through a Rockefeller School of Medicine, to tell you which pills to take, boy, you just got to get out of that cycle. It's not helping. You got to detoxify your life to the extent that you can. So listen, for those of you that are interested, the link is in the description. You can sign up for Christian's program. If you can't find the link somewhere, go to my website, theoctopusofglobalcontrol.com, and you can message me if you just say, hey, what was the link for that program that Christian was talking about? You can do that. I'll email it to you. It's no big deal, but it will be in the show notes for anybody that wants to take advantage of that. And if you don't, if it's not for you, that's cool too. Just go check out Christian's podcast. You can Connecting Minds podcast is available wherever podcasts are served, and you can do that. Christian, you're the best, man. Thank you for coming back on. We appreciate that. Yeah. Thanks for doing it. It's you got to get educated. You got to take care of your health. You got to do it at your own, take it into your own hands, because nobody's coming to save you. And if you like this episode, or if you think that somebody in your family or in your circle might benefit from this, somebody that you think is a little sick and maybe they don't listen to this show normally, just send them the podcast anyway. We didn't even talk about lizard people all that much. I mean, but we could, but this will be sort of a normie podcast for them. So you can send it to them as well. You can connect with me through the website, theoctopusofglobalcontrol.com, or you can find me on Twitter @macroaggression. Thanks, everybody. I'll talk to you again soon.